Brenden Slaughter here, BeaversEdge.com, coming to you live from Research Stadium following Oregon State's 62-17 win over the Stanford Cardinal. The Beavers improved to 8-2 on the season, 5-2 in Pac-12 play, and kind of get their get-right tune-up game before the huge two games we got coming up in the regular season. Oregon State will host Washington right here this next Saturday, 4:30 p.m. on ABC. We'll get into that just a little bit later, but back to this matchup itself, a dominating performance from Oregon State across the board. I mean, you talk about the 2 weeks on the road that happened, the loss to Arizona, and then the kind of ho-hum win over Colorado where maybe the offense didn't quite play as well as they could have. Erased all doubt today. You know, the Beavers talked about this maybe being a trap game. They even addressed it leading into this, and Jonathan talked about it in the postgame, said the guys handled it well, came out, and just dominated. And, you know, you just look at the scoring breakdown in this one. Oregon State puts 14 on the board in the first, 20 in the second, 21 in the third, and then a little excuse me touchdown at the end just to kind of get them over that 60-point margin. I mean, it was dominating. I mean, you think about this game, it really was, for all intents and purposes, in the cooler at halftime. You know, the Beavers end up playing, you know, just a little bit with their starters to start the third quarter, and then Aiden Childs comes in at quarterback in relief at DJU. The defense, you know, rotates in some guys as well. We see second and third units. So across the board, exactly what you wanted to see if you were, you know, an Oregon State fan or Oregon State, you know, coach, player from this game. You know, Stanford was a team that, while they've been playing better recently, still not a great football team. Oregon State handled business, took care of business here at home, and now have set up a huge matchup this next weekend. A couple more stats that jump off. Obviously, I mentioned the defense. 4 interceptions today, folks. I mean, that was just huge. I mean, you talk about, you know, the defense being able to make plays. Katana Oladapo had a pair. Drew Chatfield had one. And then, you know, Jermod McCoy as well. And then, you know, it just was really a dominating showing. You know, Stanford was able to find some things. Ayu Maynor had 3 receptions for 120 yards and a touchdown. A lot of that was set up from a one play that he had. But for the most part, this was a game where Oregon State just dominated. I mean, going to DJU, 12-19 for 240 yards and 2 touchdowns. Aiden Childs was 5-8 for 75 and 1. But the story of this game offensively, Damian Martinez. Holy cow, the kid has himself a game today. He has 4 touchdowns all in the first half, and people were thinking he was going to chase for that Oregon State record held by Steven Jackson, who the Beavers had here at halftime along with Mike Hass, Mike Riley, and a bunch of others honoring. So that was a cool thing for Damian Martinez. He doesn't make the record, but again, nevertheless, has an impressive first half. He takes 15 carries for 149 yards and 4 touchdowns. And, you know, again, just talking about his 4 touchdowns, they were huge, right? I mean, throughout the game, he scored the first touchdown, the second touchdown, the third touchdown, and then obviously the 5th as well. So huge game from Damian Martinez, exactly what you wanted to see from the run game. You know, Beavers' run games is, you know, reliable as it comes, but they obviously get it done against the Stanford defense that's not very great. And then obviously the passing game. DJ goes for 240 yards. They were able to find some things today. I mean, whether that's Jack Belling, 3 for 55, Jermaine Terry caught 2 for 35, including his first touchdown. So that was an incredible play from DJ going across his body to find Jermaine for that touchdown. So maybe not perfect in the passing game like what you would have liked to see if Oregon State was in a shootout type of situation. But nevertheless, the game was over so quickly. This was a game where Oregon State was really able to do whatever they wanted for the most part. So, again, going back to the game this weekend, so now obviously you've got Oregon State squaring off with Washington at 4:30 p.m. here at Research Stadium on Saturday. We got the news about halfway through this game, just after halftime, that College Game Day will not be coming to Corvallis this next week. And the reaction from at least the media folk, I'm curious to see. Drop in the comments what you guys feel. It's a slap in the face to Oregon State. And, you know, credit Jonathan Smith and the players in the post-game for having a really good attitude and being like, you know, it didn't really faze us. But when you look at the merits of it, College Game Day, they're ducking Oregon State. They're ducking the tough questions and passing on a top 15 matchup next week, potentially top 10 if Oregon State rises up. It's just beyond me. So regardless of all that, Oregon State will play Washington here Senior Day next week, 4:30 p.m. On ABC, nationally televised game, and a huge opportunity for Oregon State to get another marquee win this year, another win against a ranked opponent, and perhaps most importantly, avenge a big-time loss last year. You know, we got a chance to talk to a handful of guys in the postgame. They all talked about the guys that, you know, were in Seattle last year and remembered that game against the Huskies and just how painful it was. Beavers Edge was there, Keenan Punkocher, myself, I remember that game like it was yesterday, and that post game, Oregon State, they were defeated in that post game, and you kind of could see that talking to Dame, talking to Drew Chatfield, and a few others. So I have a feeling Oregon State's going to be extremely motivated to come out in this matchup and play extremely well. And then obviously everything that's still on the line for the Beavers as their Pac-12 title hopes are still alive and kicking. So again, Oregon State with a absolutely dominating 62-17 win here at Reser Stadium, the penultimate home game of the season. Oregon State will be back at Reser Stadium this next weekend for the matchup against Washington. Make sure to stay tuned to BeaversEdge.com as we'll have complete coverage leading up to the matchup. We'll have complete coverage from tonight, the post game, and on obviously our takeaway story, and perhaps even a little opinion piece on College Game Day as well. So this is Brenden Slaughter signing off from Reser Stadium following Oregon State's 62-17 win over the Stanford Cardinals.